Perek Chaf. Vayigoyish es Adam. Hashem drove out the man. Hashem sent Adam HaRishon out of Gan Eden. Goyish v'yatzam Gan Eden. He was driven out. He was kicked out of Gan Eden. He left Gan Eden. V'yashav le b'har Moriah. By the way, does anyone remember what was the niggin that Adam HaRishon sang when he was kicked out of Gan Eden?
Yeah. You sang it out of
Do it. Okay. And Adam HaRishon was sitting at Moriah. Why Moriah? Shishar Gan Eden samuch l'Har Moriah. Because the gate to Gan Eden is close to Moriah. The Radal says it's not mamish close. It's in Beis Shan, which is not so close, mamish next to Moriah, but it's not so far away.
It's not in the Hebron?
But Beis Shan?
No, the entrance to Gan Eden.
Entrance to Gan Eden is in Hebron?
I guess
I don't know that joke. Misham l'kachai. From there, HaKadosh Baruch Hu took Adam. Let's skip the next few words. Shinema, it says in the pasuk, Vayikach Hashem elikim es Adam. Hashem took the man and put him in Gan Eden. Me'ez makom l'kachai. From which place did he take him? Mi makom Beis Hamikdash. From the place of the Beis Hamikdash. Shinema, it says in the pasuk, La'avodas ha'adama asher lukach misham. That Hashem put him out of Gan Eden to work the land from which he was taken. And we said before in Perek Yud Beis that Hashem took from the dirt of the place where the Beis Hamikdash was, and that's where he created Adam HaRishon from. So that's Lukach Misham, and that's where Hashem returned him to. Here you add in the words Ulasham Hichsirod b'Makom Shetnilkach, and to there he returned him from the place where he was taken. Hashem took him from Gan Eden and took him from Makom HaMikdash and put him in Gan Eden, and when he got kicked out of Gan Eden, he put him back over there by Makom HaMikdash. Rabbi Yehuda says, HaKadosh Baruch Hu Shamar Shabbos Rishon, and they add in the word Bal Yanim. HaKadosh Baruch Hu kept the first Shabbos in the Yanim, in the upper worlds. We spoke about Hashem keeping Shabbos in Perek Yud Ches. Was it Yud Ches? I think it was Yud Ches, yeah. V'Adam Shamar Esei Tchila B'Tachtonim. And Adam HaRishon, who was already kicked out of Gan Eden before Shabbos, he kept the first Shabbos in the Tachtonim, in the lower worlds. V'Haya Yom HaShabbos Mishamar Mikol Ra. And the day of Shabbos itself would protect Adam HaRishon from all evil. We'll explain in a few moments what that means, that the day of Shabbos protected him. And the day of Shabbos consoled him from all the distressful thoughts in his heart. Shneimar, it says in the pasuk, B'roiv sarapai bekirbi, when I have many sarapim, many distressful thoughts inside me, tanchumecha yishashu nafshi. Your tanchumen, your consolements will make my soul happy. So how do you know that's talking about Shabbos? So there's two explanations. Rav Chaim Falachi and the Radal both bring two explanations. One you could say is like this: that this pasuk is in Tehillim Perek Tzadik Dalet. And we said before we're talking about Mizbeach Shalom Shabbos, which is Perek Tzadik Beis of Tehillim. The next parak is Hashem Molach, which we know is the Shir Shal Yom for Friday. And the next parak is Kel Nekama Yis Hashem, Parak Tzadik Dalet, which happens to be the Shir Shal Yom for Wednesday. And in that Shir Shal Yom, it's talking about B'roiv Sarapai Bekirbi. So you could say that it's a hemshech. We're still talking about Shabbos. That's one explanation. Rav Chaim Falachi says that that's a little bit far fetched because it's already like two parak later. Well, I heard once. I don't remember where I heard this from, but I think I heard this. That's why we say this parak of Tehillim on Wednesday, because Wednesday is the farthest of the week from Shabbos. And like Sunday, Monday, if you look at the week, so Wednesday is mamish in the middle. So like Sunday, Monday, Tuesday is already part of like last Shabbos. You could still say Havdalah till Tuesday night. Wednesday is like hanging in the middle. Thursday, you're already getting ready for the next Shabbos. Thursday, Friday, getting ready for the next Shabbos. So it's short to Shabbos. Wednesday has no shaykhs to Shabbos. So that's why you say Kil Nekama Yis Hashem. In which in that parak you say B'roiv Sarapai Bekirbi Tanchumecha Yishashu Nafshi. That Hashem is going to console us when we have these distressful thoughts. Also at the end we also add the word L'chun Ranan Al Hashem Nariel Etzur Yishenu, which is the opening words of Kabbalah Shabbos. We also say that in the Shir Shal Yom of Wednesday because we want to like remind ourselves about Shabbos because it's like so far away. Fine. The other pshat they say is if you take the words B'roiv Sarapai Bekirbi Tanchumecha, it's Rosh Tevis B'Shabbos. So that's the other pshat, how you know that it's talking about Shabbos. This idea that Shabbos was guarding Adam HaRishon, we're going to continue it in a few sentences. And then right here the Medrash like goes off on something else and then goes back to it. Rabbi Shua ben Karcha Omer, Rishon Kocha says, ilan shenichbeu sham tachtav, from the tree which Adam HaRishon was hiding underneath it, which we never heard this before, but it says, this is what the Radal says, it says in the pasuk, Vayischabe b'seich eitz hagan, the Adam HaRishon hid inside the eitz hagan, the tree of the gan, but it doesn't say what tree it was. So here we're going to tell you that the tree was a fig tree. From the tree that Adam HaRishon was hiding under, the kochle olim v'safrei, he took from it the leaves and he tied it and he sewed it, and that's what he used as his clothing. So and it was a fig tree. Shnei says the pasuk vayisbru alei se'ena. He tied he what's it called? He sewed a fig leaf, and we see that it was the tree that he hid under was a fig, and he used that fig, the leaf of a fig, to dress himself. Chazal tell us at least one opinion says in the Gemara in Brachah says that one of the opinions is that the tree of the Eitz Hadas Tevurah was actually a fig tree, and that the fruit was a fig. There's the Gemara in Brachas on Daf Mem. Other Mefarshim said that there's other fruits.
Where did the apple come from?
Where does the apple come from? It comes from the Christians, pashtus.
Really?
Yeah, I think so. Also, there's the Christian sources that say that it was a rimon.
The apple's a fruit.
It's a fruit, and everyone has the fruits. That's like the spitz fruit.
Spitz fruit. So
Yeah.
probably just
Some people say, I don't know if this is where this comes from, but some people want to say that when it says tapuach in Tanakh, it really means an esrog. I don't know what the source for that is, but
There was an opinion that it was wheat.
there was wheat, right? There's a Gemara that says there was wheat. There's a Gemara that says there was a grape or a wine or whatever, and then there's another opinion that says there was a fig. Okay, there's another opinion. What was Adam HaRishon dressed in after the Chet of Eitz Hadas, when he was back in this world after he got kicked out of Gan Eden? Rabbi Eliezer ben Yaakov says, "Mino'ar shehivshid hanachash," from the skin that HaKadosh Baruch Hu took off from the snake. Also, HaKadosh Baruch Hu kostes kavod la'adam la'ezrei. HaKadosh Baruch Hu made from that a tunic an honorable tunic for Adam HaRishon and for Chava. Shnema, it says in the pasuk, "Vayas Hashem leikim la'adam la'ishtei kasneis or." Hashem made for Adam and his wife kasneis or, a tunic of skin, vayabishem, and he dressed them up. So we also Targum Yonasan also says that this is the pshat. That's what the kasneis or means. It's talking about the skin of the nachash. We said before that one of the curses on the nachash is that it has to shed its skin every 7 years. So the way the Radal says it, you have to say that what it means is that every 7 years, the first time was right after the Chet, and then the next time is going to be 7 years afterwards. Not like 7 years from the Chet is going to be the first time. That's what one point that the Radal makes. And the other point is what mechitezi, it's dafka, the skin of the nachash. Like maybe it's from a different animal because it just says kasnus or. So it says pasha because we don't find by any other animal that there was misa, because Adam HaRishon wasn't allowed to kill animals, and right now, just now, Adam HaRishon brought misa into the world, so we're going to get skin from another animal. So pasha, so that's why the Chazal are telling us that it's from the nachash. Then he adds in parentheses that the Chizkuni in Parshas Bereishis says that it was Hashem made him clothing out of the skin of the female of Yasan. So Hashem killed the female of Yasan and salted the meat for the tzaddikim la'asud lavai, and the male of Yasan, HaKadosh Baruch Hu castrated, whatever. But the skin of the female of Yasan, that's what Hashem used to make the clothing of Adam HaRishon. There's a lot of other pshatim. What does it mean, kasneis or? Some people say that it's talking about from the Tachash. Rabbeinu Bachaya in Parshas Bereishis says that. Others want to say that it's talking about the Big Day Kahuna. Others want to say that it's talking about the clothing made out of a nail, which we said he was wearing clothing made out of a nail before the Chet, not after the Chet. But in general, it has to be, really this pasuk of Kasneis Or is written after the whole story of the Chet, when Hashem gave them their punishments. But Rashi and Chumash sounds like really it's talking about before the Chet, even though it's written after the Chet. Nachlas Yaakov, one of the Mefarshim on Rashi and Chumash, says that it could be there's two different ways to look at it. When did the Kasneis Or happen? Before the Chet or after the Chet? He says it's not clear. It could be there's a machlokes going on over here. It could be. In fact, I wanted to say that maybe that's machlokes between these two opinions over here. Here we're saying that he was wearing kasneis or, but the first opinion that said that he was wearing a fig leaf, so it could be he understood that the kasneis or was before the Chet, not after the Chet. So that's why we're not talking about kasneis or, we're talking about the te'ena. Okay. Medrash Bereshis Rabbah in the end of Parsha Chaf and Bereshis Rabbah also brings the whole bunch of explanations of what was the customers or is semer wool of gemalim, of camels, or wool of arnovim, which might mean rabbits, might mean hyrax, whatever you want.
Except it says or.
Yeah, I don't know. Or
And
then
Pashtus is Hashem shechted an animal and made them custom.
I don't know.
That or.
Yeah, I don't know.
Hashem can kill.
And then we mentioned before in Perek Yudalad we mentioned that Rabbi Meir the Medrash says that in the Sefer Torah of Rabbi Meir it says kasnos or, not or with an ayin which means skin, but or with an aleph which means light. That HaKadosh Baruch Hu made them clothing out of light, which whatever that means. Okay. Now we're continuing. We said before that when Adam HaRishon was kicked out of Gan Eden, so Shabbos was protecting him from all bad. So what does it mean that Shabbos was protecting him? Bein hashmashal shel Shabbos, and so we're going to continue sort of with that theme. Bein hashmashal shel Shabbos, Adam Yeshem Mahar Belibay. Bein hashmashal Shabbos afternoon or Shabbos evening, when it was going to become Motzei Shabbos, Adam HaRishon was sitting and he was thinking in his heart. And he said, Oili, woe unto me. Shama Yavai Hanachash Shehita Oisi be'erev Shabbos. Maybe that snake which made me make a mistake on Erev Shabbos that convinced me to eat from the Eitz Hadas, maybe that snake is going to come, and you have to add the words Vishufani Okev, and he's going to bite my heel. Shneimar, as it says in the pasuk, V'ata tishufenu Okev, and you should bite his heel. We know that Hashem told the snake that you should bite the heel of man. And the other mission is getting worried. Maybe the snake is going to come and bite me. So the Radal says, what happened beforehand? Why wasn't he scared about it on Shabbos? So he said, no, the Shabbos protected him. So Chazal tell us that the light of that Shabbos was the lashon is Lamed Vav Shoyz Shimsha, or the light of that Shabbos existed for 36 hours. Meaning you had Friday day, it was light. Then Friday night, it was also light. And then Shabbos day, it was light. Right? So 36 hours is a day and a half. It was a day and a half of light straight. That Shabbos, the Friday night of that Shabbos, it was also light. So the Shabbos protected him means that there was a special light of Shabbos that made it that it was light. And since it was light, he wasn't scared that the snake is going to come bite him because he could see the snake. What about when he was sleeping? I don't know. But the light of Shabbos was protecting him. But now he realizes like Shabbos is like what happens if it ends and then it's gonna be dark and then the snake is gonna come up and bite me and I'm not gonna see it. So that's what he was getting worried about. And the Chassidish Sfarim, I remember the Bnei Yissaschar, and by Hanukkah makes a whole big deal about this light that's 36 hours. He compares it to Hanukkah, that on Hanukkah we light 36 candles all together. I don't remember exactly what the word is, but I'm sure it has something to do with it.
We have to discuss this after the year about the question on the 24th. I don't want to hold them up today.
What, 24 what?
Hours. Because if you're adding another...
But 24 plus 12 is 36.
How do you have only 12? If the Netzachama is 5:30.
Okay, could be it's not mamish exact. Well, first of all, we're talking about Tishrei, so Tishrei it's exact.
What time was Netzachama?
I don't know.
Oh, I have to figure out when Shkia was.
Yeah.
By the way, if the oil was there, Erev Shabbos,
Yeah.
how did Adam sin?
I don't know.
You know what I mean? If such a great light was there, how did Adam sin?
That's the question. How could Adam HaRishon sin? That's the question that we have to. You always have to ask that.
Well, they say by the Chita Egel, I saw the Beis HaLevi, I think says this, or someone, that they just received the Torah. How could they sin?
Right.
So he says, you see, that is the power of the. It's just that power.
No, but he's asking that by Adam HaRishon, he didn't have a Yetzer Hara yet because he didn't sin.
It was the Yetzer Hara.
Yeah, it was an external Yetzer Hara.
Yeah,
Could be, yeah.
So the extinct, see how externally is also powerful. I don't know.
Could be.
I thought maybe it was true.
Fine. So what happened? Nishtarach loy amud shel esh. So Hashem sent for him a pillar of fire. L'hayar loy l'shamay mikol ra. To make it light for him and to guard him from all evil. Hashem sent him a pillar of light. A flash of fire came and then that was what saved him. The Gemara in Pesachim says that HaKadosh Baruch Hu brought to him two rocks. or whatever, basically two rocks. That's the Medrash Sechet Vessel, 2 rocks, and from those 2 rocks he was able to make a fire. So did he make a fire, or Hashem sent him a fire?
That was the Flintstones.
The Flintstones, meet the Flintstones, yeah? Ra'a Adam la'amud shel eish v'samach b'libay. Other HaRishon saw this pillar of fire, and he was happy in his heart. V'amar, and he said, Achshav ani yedea shahamakim imi. Now I know that Hashem is with me. Ufrashat yadav la'or ha'eish. He spread out his hands to the light of the fire. Uberech, he made a bracha. Baruch uberech boirei me'orei ha'eish. Other HaRishon made a bracha. Boirei me'orei ha'eish. Uchashehirchak yadav me'eish. When he put his hands farther away from the fire. Amar Adam said to himself, Achshav ani yedea. Now I know shenivdol yom ha'kodesh miyom ha'chol, that the holy day is separate from a weekday, from a profane day, from a regular day. Because he's bothered by, why is it that Hashem made it that the whole day was light? Why didn't Hashem just send a fire on Shabbos to make it light for me, so that I won't be scared from the snake? Why did Hashem have to make a whole nace that the aura of that day was 36 hours? Just make a fire. From that you see, she'ein levayir eish b'Shabbos. I learned that you're not allowed to make a fire on Shabbos. So why not? So I learned from that Shabbos must be holier than the week. And now it's not Shabbos anymore. So there's some sort of separation between Shabbos and the week. Omar, so other HaRishon said, Baruch hamavdol min kodesh l'chol. Blessed is he who differentiates between that which is holy and that which is profane. Fine. Rabbi Mana says, Keitzad chayv adam levarich al kos shel yayin l'or ha'esh. How is it that a person is chayv to make a bracha on wine with the fire? Meaning, we know that there's a mitzvah to make Havdalah. You're supposed to make Havdalah. The way we're usually making the mitzvah of Havdalah is when you daven in Shemona Esrei. So you say in Shemona Esrei, Atach anantenu ma'ala teresecha v'tamdeinu lasus chukei ritzidecha, right? And Hishbaruch Hu's mavdal bin oil l'cheshech ben Yisrael l'amim, etc. So in Shemona Esrei you make Havdalah. You say that Hashem made a difference between Shabbos and other days of the week, and that's the kiyum of Havdalah. Chazal also made a takana that you're supposed to make Havdalah again on a cup of wine. A special takana to make Havdalah al kais. So the Medrash is saying, how do you make Havdalah al kais with the or ha'esh? V'aymer baruch ma'ir ha'esh. First you make a bracha baruch ma'ir ha'esh on the fire. Ucheshamasa yadim in ha'esh, and when you're returning your hands from the fire, aymer baruch hamavdu b'kedesh l'chol. You say a bracha baruch hamavdu b'kedesh l'chol while you're still holding the cup. It does not, in this part of the Medrash, it doesn't say anything about looking at the fire. It just says like you put your hand towards the fire and you bring your hand back. So the Radal wants to say that it could be that if you have a cup, you're not supposed to look at the fire because you're supposed to be looking at the Kos Shel Brachah. But I don't think we pass it like that, B'chal. We even if you're holding a cup, either you put the cup down or you move it to a different hand and you look at the fire with your hands or whatever. But you don't just keep looking at the cup even when you make a Bar Me'or H.
Or some people look at the flame in the cup.
In the cup?
Yeah, as a reflection.
Interesting.
Yeah.
What was the minhag asking?
I don't know. The minhagim over here aren't really so clear. I looked at this. There are a few nukudas that we're going to differentiate. We're going to be different from what the minhag in Pirkei Eliezer is, based on the Ashkenaz minhag. It could be Sfardim do like the Mechaber, but whatever. A kitzur, like the tour, because the tour actually brings down this whole Pirkei Eliezer over here. The tour in Hilchos Havdalah. If a person doesn't have wine, so what do? You stretch out your hands to the fire of to the light of the fire. And you look at your fingernails. Because the fingernails are more white than the rest of the body. And you make the bracha. That's if you don't have wine. Now the Beis Yosef in Siman Reish Tzadik Vav, or Chaim Siman Reish Tzadik Vav, says about the tour that the tour had a girsa in Pirkei Eliezer that says over here that if you don't have wine, you're supposed to make the bracha of Bar Me'or Ha'esh on the fire, and then also make the bracha of Baruch Hamavdol B'Kedesh L'chol on the fire. And then the tour argues and says no. Seder Rav Amram Goyen says that we don't make a bracha of Baruch Hamavdol B'Kedesh L'chol unless you have a cup of wine, because you already said it in Shemona Esrei. So you shouldn't say it again unless you're doing it with wine. You don't do it just with the fire. Our Pirkei Eliezer doesn't even say this, but this is what the Beis Yosef says that the Pirkei Eliezer of the Torah said. What's the inyan of looking at your nails? So we spoke about some earlier time, I think it was in Perek Daled, that from the Toras Yaakov, that the Indian is because we said that Adam HaRishon before the Chet was wearing clothing made out of nails, and then when he was Chet, so he lost that clothing made out of nails, and he was just left with the nails that are made out of nails. Right? So to be so as a tikkun or whatever, to be masker the Chet of Adam HaRishon, so we do dafka we look at dafka the nails to show we don't want to make the same mistake as him. Something like that. I don't remember exactly the word. Something like that. The Radal wants to say a slightly different word. He says that the medrash over here is talking about where the fire is not necessarily so close to you. So the fire is like farther away, so you can only notice things that are like really stark contrast. So when you're looking at like your nails versus the rest of your skin, it's a stark contrast because your nails are like whiter and the skin is a little bit darker. I don't know how true it is, but this is what he says. And he says that, so it's speaking like even if you're far away from the fire, this is what you should do. But he says if you're closer to the fire, so you don't even have to look at your nails as vis-a-vis the rest of your skin. You could look straight at your skin and see in your skin itself, am I mamish clean? Am I missing a spot? Something like that. But this is the point is you're supposed to get hana from the fire in order to make the brachah bar me'ari ha'esh. Right. When you put your hand back from the fire, you make the bracha, blessed is he who differentiates between kodesh and chol. Oh, you know what? Okay, whatever. If you don't have a fire, there's no fire over here. So what should you do? You should stretch out your hands to the light of the stars. Shehem shel eish, because the stars are made out of fire. And you look at your fingernails that are like whiter than the skin, and you say Baruch Moriah Ha'ish. The Radal has a whole arichos over here that he wants to say that the Talmud Bavli argues on this medrash and says that no, the stars you can't make a Baruch Moriah Ha'ish on the stars because the Gemara says that you don't have to put so much effort into trying to make a Baruch Moriah Ha'ish. You don't have to mamish go out of your way to find the fire to make a Baruch Moriah Ha'ish. It's not really, it's so ma'akiv in Havdalah. So we mean you don't have to go out of your way. You just go outside and you look at the stars. So he says it has to be that the stars. The Gemara understood that you can't make Baruch Moriah Ha'ish. Then he wants to make a chiluk between maybe that's only talking about. He wants to say that maybe the Gemara only means that you can't make on the moon, but maybe you could on the stars. Because it says the moon is just a reflection of the sun, so it's not really a fire, but the stars is a fire. But at the end, we come out. We don't do this because we only make the bracha on a real fire. And then if the shemayim was niskada, it was very cloudy, and you can't see the stars. You should separate a rock from the land and make havdalah on the rock. Meaning, the Mepharshim say that you're supposed to do an action that shows that now it's not Shabbos anymore. And then you say Baruch Hamavda B'Kodesh Shechal. Taking a rock is muktzah or it's tailish or whatever. So that's what it's supposed to. So again, we don't pass like this. We pass like Seder of Amram Goyen that says that if you made Havdalah in Shemana Esrei, you don't make Havdalah again unless you have a cup of wine. That's basically the point, or grape juice or whatever. Rabbi Eliezer says, after a person drinks a cup of Havdalah, it's a mitzvah to take water and put it in the cup of Havdalah, and drink that water, so that is a mitzvah, in order to show how dear the mitzvah is. Because when you drink out of a cup, so there's one little drop left that you can never get that one drop. So he's saying that if you pour water into it and then you drink the whole thing, so you'll end up getting that one drop, because you want to show that the mitzvah is so dear to you that you want to get the whole thing. And whatever's left afterwards from that little drop that's left from the water, that you should put it over your eyes. And the Radal, okay, whatever. The Radal has a subshot over here that say that a krishal bracha helps bring. The Gemara says that if a person takes big footsteps, it makes him blind, or it takes away from his eyesight. And if you drink from a krishal bracha, that brings back your eyesight. So it could be that this is kashur to that. That's why you put a dafka on the eyes. But the Gemara says, Lama, why should you put it on your eyes? Leftovers of a mitzvah could help stop punishments from coming. So there's two nukudas. One is to put extra water so you can get that extra drop of grape juice that otherwise you wouldn't have been able to drink because chibuv a mitzvah. And the other one is that the leftover drop of water you should put on your eyes to show the shiur mitzvah in ma'akvin sapranis. The tour in Siman Reish Tzadik Tes in Orach Chaim brings down this Pirkei de Beliezer and switches the two reasons. It says that the reason why you should put the water is because shiur mitzvah ma'akvin sapranis. So you want to get that extra drop of water because that's the extra drop of grape juice because that's shiur mitzvah. And the other one that you put on the extra water that you put on your eyes are kedei l'chabei v'sa mitzvahs. But we don't do any of this stuff nowadays. Pashtus.
Is there when you put the wine in the pot?
Right, the wine, not the water from the leftover. So there is such a measure. The wine on the pockets. You put it over your hair on your head. You're gonna have a smart week and a rich week and all these different things. But there is such a thing. But this part we don't exactly do. Rabbi Tzadok says, "Kol mi sheni mavdil al yayin b'mitzvah Shabbos, einay shemea min mavdilim, einay roya siman brachah la'olam." Rabbi Tzadok says that any person who doesn't make Havdalah on a cup of wine on mitzvah Shabbos, or he doesn't hear it from somebody else, he will never see a siman bracha forever. He's not going to see a siman bracha. So the Radal says like this is a hemshech of what we were saying before. These different things that we want to dafka drink the wine and dafka every little drop. That's the siman bracha. All of this is the siman bracha of Havdalah. But the Radal says that we don't hold like this because we paskin like the Ramah. Kil paskin. We're talking about like schools here, but we quote unquote paskin like the Ramah in Chaim Siman Reish Tzadik Vav. That the Ramah is based on a Gemara in Eruvin. Samachem Alaf. The Gemara says that kol bayis she'ein yayin nishpach by kamayim ein siman bracha. Any house that the wine isn't spilled like water, it doesn't have a siman bracha. Meaning, if you spill wine and you treat it like you spilled water, you show like wine is not more chashuv than water. Meaning, I understand that all monetary things come from Hashem. So if you spill water, it's not such a loss for me, and if you spill wine, it's also not such a loss for me because whatever is going to be is going to come from Hashem. So then you're going to get a siman bracha. But if when you spill wine, you make a big how can you spill it? But when you spill water, you don't care. So that shows that you really think that your money is dependent on yourself. So then, ain't a siman bracha. So based on that, the Ramah says a minig. This is a minig that we do. That when you make Havdalah on Friday on Mitzvah Shabbos, so you're supposed to spill a little bit of the wine, because if you spill a little bit of the wine, that's how you get a siman bracha. Because you're showing that wine is not chashuv to me, because I know that whatever I'm supposed to get, Hashem is going to give it to me anyways. So whether I spill, whether I don't spill, it's all good.
There used to be a river. You used to pour the whole bottle of wine on the floor.
Yeah? Wow.
Who cleaned it up afterwards?
Who cleaned it up? His wife.
All the Hasidim probably.
All the Hasidim. They're all licking it up. It's Shirayim. Okay, we're good.
All this is not during Shemitah.
Not during Shemitah, right.
That's Kedusha and Hashem doesn't part of them.
Fine. This is the last line. We're going to stop after this. Anyone who hears people making Havdalah, or he himself makes Havdalah, HaKadosh Baruch Hu acquires him as a treasure. Or the Radha brings a different gersa. HaKadosh Baruch Hu Kirehu Kodesh Uskula. HaKadosh Baruch Hu calls him holy and treasurable. It says in the pasuk, the Hashem said, I'm going to separate you from the nations. That's talking about Klal Yisrael being separated from the Goyim. And another pasuk says, V'yisem li skula, and you're going to be for me a treasure. What does it mean you're going to be for me a treasure? So this medrash over here is brought down also in the Yalkut Shemaini Parshas Bereishis in Remez Lamed Dalet. And the Magen Avram in his Pirush on Yalkut Shemaini, Zayis Ranan, explains like this: that the beginning of that pasuk says, Ushmartem es brisi, you should guard my covenant. And he says that what's the brisi? The brisi is the bris of Shabbos. And then it says V'yisem li skula, and then you'll be a treasure. What does that mean? It means like this: that when you treat Shabbos as Ushmartem es brisi, as a special bris, and it's a treasurable thing, so HaKadosh Baruch Hu is going to treat you like that against the Goyim. If you treat Shabbos as more holy than Thursday, so HaKadosh Baruch Hu is going to treat you more holy than Leroy, right? So that's how it works, and that's why he says. That's why in Havdalah we mentioned both the difference between Mavdalah and Kodesh L'chol. We say between Shabbos and Yemais HaChoel, and also we speak about Ben Yisrael V'Amim, because it's the same level of difference between Shabbos and Chol and between Klal Yisrael and the other nations of the world. Okay, a good tovach.